Belgrade, once the capital city of Yugoslavia, is the capital and largest city of Serbia. It is located at the confluence of the Sava and Danube rivers, where the Pannonian Plain meets the Balkans. Its name translates to White City. The city has a population of 1.23 million, while the state has 7.22 million. The city has a rough and disturbing history, mainly in the 90s, which affected, among other aspects, its architecture. Massive demonstration and economic crisis resulted in a major setback in country's development. During NATO bombings in 1999, the buildings of Ministry of Defense, the National Television Building, several hospitals, the Central Committee Building, the Avla Tower, and many others were significantly damaged. After the presidential elections in 2000, Belgrade was the site of major public protests with over 500,000 people on the streets. The architecture from the beginning of the 21st century is trying to catch up with the world architecture trends, following the setback in the 90s. Today, the architectural style defined as contemporary is still not developed enough in our country. There are only a few examples too different from one another to be considered as a part of the same style. Therefore, this video will present some of the most iconic buildings of the golden age of modernism between 1940 and 1974. Palace Albania is a high-rise building in Belgrade and the first skyscraper built in Southeast Europe. It is located at Terazija Square, finished in 1940, and it was the first high-rise building in Belgrade and for a long time the highest one, dominating the architecture of Belgrade of the time. It was designed by Miladin Prljević and Đorđe Lazarević, based on a 1938 project by Branko Bon and Milan Grakalić. The origin of its name is traced back to the period before it was built, since a tavern named Albania previously occupied the same spot. On October 20th, 1944, red flag placed on Palace Albania declared that Belgrade was liberated from the Nazis by the Red Army and Yugoslav partisan forces.
The Siv Palace, or the Palace of Serbia, is one of the most impressive buildings constructed in the era of communism. It was constructed in 1947 by architects Anton Urlich, Vladimir Potočnjak, Zlatko Neyman and Dragica Perak, after one of the biggest architectural competition in former Yugoslavia. In 1961, another architect, Mihailo Janković, elaborated, amended, revised and implemented the entire project and the building. This building features departments for federal ministries, administration, special commission, federal agencies, and it was designed under the influence of large and powerful architectural urbanism movements of architects Le Corbusier and Nervi and their doctrine, but as interpreted through the prism of surrealism style. It is freestanding composition made of white stone based on purified modern neoclassical architectural setting. Ground of the palace is symmetrical with the central corpus and two side wings. In front of the middle wing is the lower part situated under the glass dome, and it represents the grand ballroom, which can accommodate 2,000 guests. The palace contains 6 lounges, practically and symbolically created for 6 republics of the former Yugoslavia, as well as about 1,000 of office. The facade is covered with the marble from island of Brač in Croatia, while the openings are edged with the white metal.
This building is situated on the main square in Belgrade and in the most famous pedestrian street in the city, Knez Mihajlova. The chances are that you'll pass by without realizing how special of a building it is. It is called Dom Štampe, or Press Center Building. It was erected between 1958 and 1961. This modern business building was executed following the designs made by architect Ratomir Bogojević, one of the most prominent representatives of Serbian modern architecture, in the spirit of Le Corbusier. At the time, it was a novelty in Belgrade setting. As a part of Square Republic, this building plays a significant role since it completes a block whose highest point is the Albania Palace. The press house is designed and built in almost a classic manner, fits just right with the nearby Reunion Palace and the Foreign Trade Chamber buildings, and it makes the ensemble of representative city palaces complete. Today, various shops are situated on the ground floor, and the Belgrade Cultural Center is located on the first floor of the building. The building of Ministry of Defense, which was considered to be a masterpiece of post-war architecture, was built in 1963 and was designed by one of the most influential Serbian architects, Nikola Dobrović. The building is divided by Nemanjina Street, and the design of the building is meant to resemble a canyon of the Sutjeska River, where one of the most significant battles of World War II in Yugoslavia was fought, with the street as a river divided the two sides. Nemanjina Street, coming up from the hill from the main railway station to the city, passes between two parts of the building as a symbolic gate. So even though it is divided to two separate buildings, it remains homogeneous and precisely defined architectural unity. The building was bombed on May 7, 1999, and is today Belgrade's most famous ruin. Currently, this building is drawing a lot of media attention since there is an ongoing debate on the future of the building. One of the possibilities is the reconstruction, and the other is demolition and construction of the new building with a completely different function.
The National Library of Serbia is the oldest institution of culture in the Republic of Serbia. 13 years after the bombing of the old National Library during the World War II, a new, bigger and more impressive building was erected on the plateau in front of Sveti Sava Temple in Belgrade. The foundation stone for the new building of the library, designed by the world-famous architect Ivo Kurtović, was laid on the day of the liberation of the Belgrade, October the 20th, in 1965. It was finished in 1973. The main characteristic of the environment is the monumental building of St. Sava Temple. The building itself covers an area of 30,000 square meters that hosts places for 500 users, 250 employees, and a storehouse for 3 million books. Even though it is built with the modern materials such as steel and glass, it contains elements of traditional building style. The reconstruction of the National Library interior has been launched in 2007, covering the main entrance hall with exhibition space, cafe bar and with a kitchen, atrium, main hall, on the floor level all reading rooms. The reconstructed area for users was opened in September 2011. This building was proclaimed a cultural good, and it has been under the protection of the Bureau for the Protection of Cultural Monuments. It is visited by 2,000 users daily, which makes it most visited institution of culture in Serbia.
The May 25th Sports and Recreation Center was designed by Ivan Antic and was built in 1973. It is constructed for the World Swimming Competition that took place in Belgrade in the fall of the same year. It hosts a sports hall, open and indoor swimming pools, a restaurant with bowling hall, a sauna, and outdoor sports grounds. The highlight of the building is the restaurant supported on 19-meter cantilevers that gives a special feature to this architectural piece. The roof of the covered Olympic swimming pool is made of pre-stressed concrete, hyperbolic parabolic shell, 7 centimeters thick on the rhombus base, with a span over the longer diagonal 107 meters and over the shorter 60 meters. The aim of the concept was to use and emphasize the unique position and characteristics of the site. It is on the bank of the river Danube, and from it you can see not only the river and the wood-covered Great War Island, but the Belgrade Fortress, Kalemegdan.
After years of being situated in Captain Smisha building, the Faculty of Philosophy got its own building on a neighboring site in 1974. It was designed 5 years prior by Serbian architect and a professor of Faculty of Architecture in Belgrade, Svetislav Licina. With its unique form, it creates an atrium and a pedestrian path that connects Student Square and Knez Mihajlova, main pedestrian street in Belgrade. It has marked the architecture of Belgrade in 17 years of the 20th century and remains as durable value of fitting it into the complex matrix of the city, affirming functionally and space structure with the successful chosen materials. For the building, Professor Licina was awarded with the Borba Award for the most successful architectural design in Serbia in 1974.
The literal translation of the name of this building is the Belgrade Lady. Officially, it's called the Belgrade Palace. It is a modern high-rise building in the Belgrade downtown area. It is 101 meters tall. The building was designed by architect Branko Pešić. Construction began in 1969 and was completed 5 years later in 1974. It was the first skyscraper to be raised in the heart of the city, and it is located between Slavia Square and Terazije Street. It has an emphasized aspiration to dominate with its high 24-story part as the city's reference point. The lower part of the building has the same height as neighboring buildings and hosts big sales. The building is one of the most significant works of Belgrade architecture from the late 60s, and at the time it was the tallest building in Belgrade. The building used to house a restaurant on the top floor with a panoramic view of the city, but it closed at the beginning of the 90s, when a local radio and television station, Studio B, which has been broadcasting for decades from this building, rented the top floor for its own needs. There are another 3 levels on the ground used as storage space. The construction is made of concrete with a curtain wall facade made of dark aluminum and glass. The total building area is 40,000 square meters, half of which is a shopping mall.
Hi, I hope you liked our video. My name is Petar Veselinovic, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Ivan Shumkov for organizing the Contemporary Architecture course on eversity.org.
Hi, my name is Alexandra. I want to say that we enjoyed these past couple of months watching your videos and that it was very educational. We found out a lot of new things about buildings that we didn't know a lot about.
Hi, my name is Sava Lukic. We heard about your course from our friends on University in Belgrade, and we really enjoyed it, and we are looking forward for your next course.